Greetings and salutations, Rene Box Young, salute from the South, one love to y'all. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, sharing, etc., showing the love. We're one community. Hey, as you can see, I got a different presentation going on. Alright? I want to do something special. I want to start doing a series which is dedicated towards fighters in general. Just dedicated towards breaking down fighters. Concise breakdowns. Obviously, it's just on the criteria of the content creator, or anybody who is a fan or analyst or critic of the sport of boxing, to break down athletes in whatever field. Generally speaking, a person who loves sports and to break down a favorite athlete or any athlete in general. But as far as boxing, same thing with boxing, we can just break down fighters for hours, we can break down fighters for days, we can break down fighters, for an extensive period of time. And I just choose to, do concise breakdowns. Kind of in a formal fashion, I guess we can say, in a type of presentation format, output, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting ride. I want to do it periodically, and so we're going to check it out. Presentation series. That's what I'm talking about. So let's get in. Let's join. I hope you guys join the ride with me, and it's going to be, periodically. I want to start doing this series and just to respect, and this is my way of respecting and honoring fighters, especially the fighter we're going to talk about right now. Like I said, it's a concise breakdown. I got to make it clear, all right, as far as the fighters that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to break down, there's just so much things to say, about each fighter, and I just want to make it concise, and just point out some things that are really attention getting, where that makes us really respect fighters, really respect their grind, respect their blood, sweat, and tears. So let's get into it. Who are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh man, you guys already know about Sugar Ray Robinson, and for those who don't know, that's what I want these presentations to serve that purpose. For people who maybe don't know who some fighters are, this is perfect for you guys, And for those who do know, just to freshen up our memory and, to take us back to memory lane with, certain fighters and fights, amazing, just amazing, moments that these fighters have brought, in the sport of boxing throughout the years. And it's not necessarily, as far as this series, it's not going to be all about, vintage fighters and things like that. It's going to be from then and now. So let's get into it. Sugar Ray Robinson. I had to give him the crown. He just deserves it. He definitely deserves it and more. Shouts out to the legend, man. This is amazing. I love it. And so it's going to be a general breakdown. Like I said, there are so many things to cover, but I just want to generally break down some certain aspects of Sugar Ray Robinson. Okay, let's get to it. He was born Walker Smith Jr. in 1921. Okay, so now it's interesting because his birthplace is debatable. All right, Robinson himself, if I'm not mistaken, in an autobiography, he said that he was from Detroit, Michigan, but his birth certificate said that he was born in Ely, Georgia. All right, now, when he was around 11 years old, okay, he lived in Detroit. He grew up in Detroit. All right, around 11 years old, his mom, moved him to. They moved to Harlem. We see here in the Google Maps, right? It's around almost 10 hours, a 10-hour ride, depending where depending which route you take, right? If you take the exterior, you want to go down that lake, Lake Erie, check out the views, I guess, to a certain extent, I guess, right? That takes around 11 hours. So if you try to go the direct route, it's almost 10 hours, 9.5 hours. So, interestingly, around that age, around 11, or when he was young, when he moved to Harlem, that's where his mom, was taking him to church, I guess, right? Something along those lines around the church. And he met a founder of a gym, all right, a boxing gym, and that's where he started, training in the sport of boxing. And we see here, as far as his career, okay, now there's a relation to him in Harlem with his amateur career. We're gonna check that out. So we got here his amateur career. It was 89-0. Now, if you just sit there and think about 89-0 in an amateur career, we've got to understand, guys, that amateur fighting is different from pro fighting. You guys know, or maybe if you don't know, amateur an amateur career, man. Those are wars, man. They go at it. Them young kids, man. The people going up in the amateurs, man. They really go at it. So I mean, for Sugar Ray Robinson to be undefeated. In his amateur career, that's amazing. That is amazing. 89-0. You just sit back and think about that, you guys. And in the professional career, most people, you guys who know about boxing and who watch boxing, I mean, there's a big distinction, between amateur fighters and pro fighters. Pro fighters are more calculated. Pro fighters are more patient. Pro fighters, pro boxers, they sit and wait. It's more of a patient, it's a chess match. It's a chess match. You know what I mean? I guess you can say to a certain extent, amateur fighting is like a checker match. You're going fast at it. It's just, it's way different. It's a difference. Okay, there's a difference. So if I'm not mistaken, it's the amateur fights are even judged differently. Okay, they're judged differently. As far as with judges and things like that. So I mean, now there is a reason why you see the Golden Gloves there, because right before Sugar Ray Robinson began his pro career in 1940, around, I think, if not mistaken, around 1939 and 1940, he won the Golden Gloves twice. If I remember correctly, he won twice. So, and he ended his pro career in 1965. We're talking about, 25-year, career in the sport of boxing as far as pro, so. And he won his Golden Gloves twice before entering pro, so that's awesome, And in his pro career, he won 40 fights. His first 40 fights. Isn't that amazing? Now, we're not going to really get into his technique and style and how he fought. Like I said, this is just a general breakdown, concise breakdown and overview, so we can really respect who Sugar Ray Robinson was, so you can reflect, on how boxing was in those days, These fighters fought a lot, man. Here's another one. Here's another point here. He had a 91 unbeaten fight streak. So, he fought, from 1943 to 1951. He didn't lose. 91. Okay, you just stop there and think about it. Like I'm saying, guys, each of these points, you got to stop and think about it. He won his first 40 fights. And then he had, from 1943 to 1951, a 91 fight streak without losing. You transition to nowadays. You transition to now in the sport of boxing. Fighters don't even get near 91 fights and losing one. You know what I mean? They don't even, and being undefeated, fighters nowadays, you're talking about here. You're talking about the last point right here. Let me go back. Won his first 40 fights. You're talking about fighters nowadays having around 40 to 45 fights, 34, 33, it just depends. From 30 to 40 fights, there are some exceptions, you know what I mean? Like, you got Canelo, you got Deontay Wilder, you got fighters out there, Manny Pacquiao, you got several fighters, Floyd Mayweather, he already retired. You got a few fighters out there who are around 40 to 50 fights, some less, some more or less, you know what I mean? But there are losses, you know what I mean? So, and you got here Sugar Ray Robinson, his first 40 fights undefeated. Amateur career, no defeats, 89-0. So you see what I'm saying? Those are amazing accomplishments. When you focus on the first 3 points, those are amazing accomplishments. Amazing. The first point and then the last point, the third point, sorry. Those are just amazing accomplishments, man. You really sit back and think about it, and look at the numbers. That's just amazing, guys. That is amazing. Sugar Ray Robinson, man, he was just, he's debatably the GOAT. Greatest of all time. Definitely. I don't have anything to debate on that one. So, 91, okay, from 1943 to 1951, around the World War II era, if I'm not mistaken, 1943-ish. I don't know. I'm not the best at history, but so he had a 91 unbeaten fight streak. Imagine that, you guys. Imagine that. I tell you. So let's check this other point here, which intertwines. So he was the first boxer to become a 5-time, check that out, guys, 5-time middleweight divisional champion after dominating the welterweight division from 1946 to 1950. Isn't that amazing? Isn't this amazing? 5-time middleweight divisional champion after dominating the welterweight division for 4 years. I mean, isn't that amazing, you guys? You see, now, in these series that I, plan on making here periodically for you guys, I really want to break down vintage fighters, old school fighters from the glory days of boxing, I'm not a scholar or anything like that, but, I think, like I said, these fighters definitely deserve the credit and the limelight. Unfortunately, a lot of them are forgotten. Unfortunately, people nowadays, they just don't think about, they don't go back to history, they don't go, fans in the sport of boxing don't go back to, the history of the sport of boxing and fighters from back in the day, vintage fighters. You could talk about Muhammad Ali, you're talking about, Sugar Ray Robinson and all these other fighters, there are so many. But, bit by bit, I want to, go back to the record books, and I want to, bring them out to light, just so we can appreciate them. And like I said, we're going to talk about modern day fighters also, so I want to bit by bit just bring concise breakdowns. But isn't that amazing? Just look at these numbers. Let me go back one more time. So, amateur career undefeated, 89-0. Wow. 25 years as a pro fighter. Won his first 40 fights. Wow. 91 unbeaten fight streak from 43 to 51. You guys, I can't think of a fighter right now who comes close to this. Was the first boxer to become a 5-time middleweight divisional champion after dominating the welterweight division from 1946 to 1950. Isn't that amazing, guys? So we got to give our hats off to Sugar Ray Robinson, and the things that he has achieved in the sport of boxing. And we're talking about the things that he has achieved not only in pro fighting, but also in his amateur career. Look at that, guys, 89-0. He definitely had an amazing skill set, an amazing craft, talent. Wow. So, it's short, like I said. Thanks for watching, man. This is short. Remember to like and share and obviously subscribe. You can support also, link in the description. Go ahead to my PayPal account. You can go ahead and support, what you feel, you know what I mean? So, like I said, man, I want to keep pushing out these short videos, presentations, presentation series on fighters, More will be coming out soon. Rene Box Young, thank you so much. Thank you for the love, guys. Peace out. One love. Stay safe out there.